We're back with you now on WZBN News. This is Mercer County Close-Up. If you joined us last night, you heard from Jan Close, the guitarist who is also a very good vocalist. He will be performing at tomorrow night's Candlelight Concert. It's a house concert up in Pennington. We welcome, however, today the gentleman who is the driving force behind this whole series of concerts. They happen right about every 2 weeks, and of course tomorrow night's being in Pennington. He's a local resident, and he also has a very personal story about epilepsy because just last summer he lost his wife to it. We welcome Eric Miller to the studio. Eric, thank you for being our guest today.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Just so that people might have a better understanding of epilepsy, I mean, it's tricky about, what the working definition is, but it's very seizure related. I guess people who have several seizures?
Yeah, epilepsy is actually kind of similar to autism, and it's actually a spectrum of disorders. There are many different types of seizures, and sort of all shades of gray as far as the definition goes. I think the industry standard working definition, if you will, is like 2 seizures within a 24-hour period.
I see.
But they're all, all shades of gray, all shapes and sizes of seizures.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned your wife in the opening. It's been about 9 or so months since she passed away. Was her, feel free to tell us about her, but was her passing really why you started this this cause?
Precisely why. She had epilepsy since she was a teenager. It wasn't inhibitive in terms of her daily life. Like I said, there's a wide variety of types. She, for instance, she could drive. She earned her law degree, all those things. So it didn't affect her day-to-day living per se, where some it does significantly. And she passed away of what is called SUDEP, sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. And statistically speaking, that actually impacts people with epilepsy. If they are treated, it still affects 1 in 1,000. Still can die suddenly of SUDEP. If they're an untreated person with epilepsy, meaning they're not on medication, they haven't had surgery, there actually are other treatments. If they're not undergoing treatment, it could affect somebody 1 in 150, which is a significantly high fatality rate. It's actually a higher fatality rate than breast cancer, for instance.
That's unfortunate, yeah.
And it's, not to single that out, but, the reason I say that is not to alarm somebody, but, just to point out the urgency as far as raising awareness.
Sure, and to put it out there so that people might be able to compare it against something else. That
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly
well,
right.
Like we mentioned, the concert series, the Candlelight Concert for Epilepsy Awareness, there's one of these just about every 2 weeks, and the one tomorrow night in Pennington is actually at Eric's house. Now, we're not going to tell you his address here, but if you want tickets, there are still a few available, so act fast because they're nearly sold out. You can go to candlelightconcert.org. That's spelled as it is, all one word, no spaces, no dashes, candlelightconcert.org. You can find out more about ticket information and where to go. The concert is really, first off, the money raised is obviously, the proceeds will go to benefit epilepsy awareness.
Correct. And it's actually not only a physical concert, but we're streaming them all online.
Oh, fantastic.
On stageit.com. So if people can't attend in person, they can tune in for a pay-what-you-can donation. So, if you want to pay $1, you can watch it. If you want to pay $100, you can watch it. Equally great.
Yeah.
And what the intention is to get wonderful international performers like Jan to come and sort of bring their audience with them a bit, so I can give them the medicine with a little bit of sugar, right? So they get the message of epilepsy, but they get a fantastic night of music, either in person or streamed.
So one example is, say, someone who suffers from epilepsy who might not be able to leave home because of the internet, they can be part of the concert.
That's exactly right.
That's great. Well, is there anything else that your group does as far as with those and even those without who have epilepsy? Do you folks offer any sort of recovery, or are you able to talk about really the recovery process involved with it?
Well, I guess in terms of treatment, there are, epilepsy, there are, again, since it's a spectrum, there are equal number of treatments. There are a whole host of medications. There are nerve stimulators. So, epilepsy really is sort of like a short circuit, like an electrical charge kind of, mistriggers, and so there are things that you can actually have implanted, like nerve stimulators, so if it detects something happening, it will trigger it and sort of cut the seizure off at the pass, if you will.
Right.
That's a common thing. But at each of these events, Epilepsy Foundation of New Jersey will be on hand to provide information. I'm not an expert on epilepsy per se. I'm kind of more of a victim, as I would say. But they'll be on hand to provide information and, you know, offer services and things like that.
Definitely a good group to have on hand, you know,
Absolutely.
helping you folks
Yeah,
out.
they've helped me since day one, and they've been just amazing.
Right. Now the music, like we said, they happen once about every 2 weeks. Are you able to talk about also, you know, the fact that you found Jan? That's a major part of this one coming up. But talk about finding the artists, and I'm sure that once they hear about your story, they're happy to hop on board and help perform for you.
Yeah, well, some of them have been kind of friends or friends of friends. Like Jan is a friend of a friend. So, you know, when I mentioned it to him, like, he jumped right on it. So we've had the first one about 2 weeks ago was Jeffrey Gaines, you know, also a friend, and we have like Dan Reed coming up, and John Wesley Harding, Francis Dunnery. In September, I have a 6-piece Celtic rock band, which I'm not sure how I'm going to fit that in my living room, but I'll sort that out come September. So there's like a whole variety, and a lot of it is, you know, networking, friends of friends and things like that, and, you know, they're happy to lend their talent to, you know, a good cause like this.
Fortunately and thankfully, yes, and it's a lot of it is who you know. So fortunately, you know, a lot of people out there have big hearts and receptive ears to cases like this. Again, there are a few tickets left for Saturday night's concert. It's up in Pennington. It's at Eric's house. But again, if you want tickets, we're not going to say where the concert is physically here on the air. Visit candlelightconcert.org. Whatever tickets are left, you know, pay for them over the internet with a credit card, and then you'll find out where to go. This continuing series, you'll be able to see more of these every couple of weeks on stageit.com, I believe.
Correct.
That's the address. So yes, if you or someone you know suffers from epilepsy, this is a great cause to even become a part of. Consider donating money to them, because, you know, these organizations like these don't really profit, but they're out there to raise awareness about epilepsy and to, you know, obviously bring music and healing in a way to those that suffer from it and to the families, of course. Eric, thanks so much for being our guest today.
Thank you.
We wish you all the best.
Thanks for sharing the story.
Absolutely. Eric Miller, one of the driving forces behind the Candlelight Concert for Epilepsy Awareness series. Please, if you don't have plans Saturday night, consider going. But again, tickets are very limited at this point, so visit candlelightconcert.org for Saturday night's concert up in Pennington. I'm Mark Fontes. We'll see you again really soon.